Chapter 5. No Way Out. Ellie played the song, Mira played the crowd. It kept them fed and rarely raised suspicion. Once per town was the rule. Always moving, always careful. It was a good arrangement. They had reached Harrowfen after a tense night on the spice barge, the memory of the ocarina's unnatural warmth and the distant, twisted lullaby still clinging to them like a shadow. The ancient door's call had grown louder, but hunger and the need for coin forced them to risk one performance. They had no choice. Empty stomachs and empty pockets left little room for caution. Harrowfen was one of the many cities that still remained uncollared. More than half the towns in the region had proudly refused the silver chains and watchful eyes of the Order of the Veil. Yet something felt deeply amiss beneath the surface. The gray, damp air carried more than peat smoke and despair, an undercurrent of watchful tension, as if the town itself held its breath. The market square was smaller than most, ringed by sagging timber buildings and a single crumbling watchtower. Ellie played longer than usual, letting the melody stretch and draw every eye. Mira, tiny, a head shorter than girls her age, with striking copper reddish-brown hair, wore a dark cloak and hood that let her move unnoticed like smoke among the listeners, lifting purses with practiced ease. Eyes were watching, always watching. It set them on edge. He wore robes the color of old blood, hood pulled low. When Mira's fingers brushed the heavy pouch at his belt, his hand snapped down like a manacle. She froze. The crowd didn't notice. Ellie's music still held them. But the man turned slowly, and even from across the square, Ellie felt the shift, like the air itself had grown heavier, thick with something ancient and wrong. Mira tried to twist free. A muffled curse escaped her. Then the man raised the other hand, palm outward, and whispered a single word in a tongue that made Ellie's ocarina falter mid-note, the clay suddenly cold against her lips. Mira's eyes rolled white. Her body jerked once, rigid, then slumped. The man caught her easily, hoisting her limp form over one shoulder as though she weighed nothing. He turned and walked toward the shadowed lane that led behind the watchtower. Ellie's heart slammed against her ribs. The ocarina dropped from her lips. Coins scattered as she shoved through the throng. The sky had been threatening all evening. Now a light rain began to patter, slow at first, tapping rooftops and stone with irregular droplets that grew steadier. The sound masked her footsteps and blurred the edges of the shadows, giving her the cover she desperately needed as she slipped deeper into enemy territory. She moved with practiced caution, years of survival sharpening her instincts. She kept low, used the rain's noise to cover her steps, and chose every shadow deliberately, knowing that one careless move would end them both. The lane twisted behind rotting warehouses, past piles of refuse and broken barrels. Ellie's boots skidded on slit cobblestones, breath coming in sharp, ragged bursts. The hooded man was ahead, Mira's limp form slung over his shoulder like a rag doll. Shadows clung to the rotting warehouses, their sagging roofs dripping. She pushed harder, closing the gap, but then movement flickered at the edges of her vision. Ellie ducked behind a splintered crate, heart pounding so violently she could feel it in her teeth. Two figures in dark robes trimmed with faint crimson embroidery patrolled a side alley, guard acolytes. They moved with a predator's grace, hoods low, hands on curved daggers that gleamed unnaturally. Ellie cursed under her breath. The man was vanishing deeper into the maze. She couldn't charge past them. Sneaking was her only option. She waited until the acolytes turned their backs, then slipped from crate to barrel, hugging the darkest walls. The lane narrowed. Urgency clawed at her chest. As she crept closer, low voices drifted from behind a half-collapsed wall. She pressed herself flat against the damp stone and listened, rain dripping coldly down her neck. "Bates still breathing," one acolyte muttered, voice low and rough. "The little thief drew her protector out just like we planned. When we raise the small one as one of ours, it'll break the matriarch. She'll hesitate. She'll doubt everything. That moment of weakness is all we need." The second acolyte grunted, a wet, humorless sound. "She thinks she's guarding the key. Let her watch her companion turn against her. Confusion is better than any blade. The matriarch will falter, her only companion." They chuckled and began looking around suspiciously, sensing they were being watched. Ellie's stomach twisted into knots. They weren't simply hunting Mira. They were using her as living bait to shatter someone far more powerful. The matriarch. The words sank into her like cold iron. She bit down hard on her lip to stay silent, tasting blood, while the coppery scent of fresh death lingered in the air and rain dripped down her neck. She slipped away before they could sense her. Legs trembling, she held her breath. Deeper now, the warehouses gave way to older stone relics etched with faded runes. The hooded man's trail was faint, a scuffed boot print, a drop of what might be Mira's blood, but it led her onward. She reached the low stone building half sunk into the earth, once a grain store, now something far worse. A faint greenish glow leaked from cracks in the boarded windows. The smell hit her first: copper, rot, and burning hair. She peered through a splintered plank. Candles burned in a rough circle, flames sickly green. Bones were arranged in spiraling patterns on the dirt floor. Mira lay bound on a black stone slab at the center, chest rising in shallow breaths. The hooded man stood over her, sleeves rolled back to reveal ritual scars. In one hand he held a curved knife of blackened bone, in the other, a crystal phial pulsing like a dying heartbeat. 4 other figures in blood-red robes knelt in a wider ring, chanting in the forbidden tongue, the language of sealing twisted into unmaking. The words slithered through the air like living things, heavy and wrong. Inside Mira's mind, they echoed like thunder in a crypt, pounding against her thoughts. She fought them with everything she had, teeth clenched, body rigid against the ropes, silently screaming no. But the pull was ancient and hungry. Her pupils suddenly widened, dark pools swallowing the irises, and her limbs began to twitch in time with the chant, hips and shoulders shifting in unnatural rhythm, as if the ritual was claiming her from within. Ellie crouched at the plank, heart slamming. She had nothing, no dagger, no allies, no plan, only the ocarina. Her eyes darted around the room. 5 thick tallow candles in crude holders. Low rafters above, one beam already cracked. The phial pulsed brighter with each breath. She found the small tin of pilfered lamp oil. She waited until the chant hit its loudest swell, then belly crawled inch by inch across the dirt floor, staying below the altar's edge. Every scrape of cloth on earth felt deafening. She froze twice when an acolyte shifted weight, her pulse roaring in her ears. Close enough. She poured oil along the nearest candle holder and wicked it toward the cracked beam. The oil caught instantly. A small blue-edged flame licked up. She rolled back under the slab as the first candle flared and black smoke billowed. One acolyte coughed. "Smoke!" The leader snarled. "Ignore it! The power feeds!" But the fire didn't care. The beam caught with a soft whoomp. Embers dropped onto the bone spiral. The circle broke. Panic rippled outward. The phial cracked with a sharp pop. Green liquid hissed across the leader's hand. He screamed and dropped the knife. Flames licked the altar slab. The fire spread faster than they expected, racing along dry wood and scattered straw. Thick black smoke rolled upward, stinging eyes and throats. The acolytes began coughing violently, one dropping to his knees as he frantically beat at the flames with his robe, another scooping dirt in desperate handfuls while choking on the acrid fumes. Their once ordered ritual dissolved into hopeless chaos as they stumbled over each other, shouting hoarse commands that only fed the coughing and panic. From beneath the slab, Ellie's mind raced through the smoke and rising heat. In the choking confusion, she saw her one chance. She pressed the ocarina to her lips and blew the highest, sharpest note she could force, a piercing, crystalline shriek that cut through the roar like shattered glass. The random, high-pitched sound slammed into the crystal phial. It exploded with a deafening crack, spraying viscous green liquid across the altar and the nearest acolyte. The sudden, unearthly tone from the ocarina itself sent a jolt of raw fear through the room. The acolytes recoiled in blind terror, eyes wide with superstitious dread at the unexpected sound coming from nowhere, tripping over robes and scattered bones, one crashing into another and sending them both sprawling in the spreading flames and smoke as they desperately tried to escape the growing inferno. In that moment of pure pandemonium, Mira twisted hard against the ropes, her face contorted in silent panic as the flames licked closer to her bound form, the heat singeing the edges of her hair. The distraction gave her leverage. She rolled sideways off the slab with desperate strength, hitting the dirt with a heavy thud that was almost lost in the chaos. Her hairpin was already in her fingers, sawing frantically at the wrist bindings, while smoke stung her eyes and the growing fire roared in her ears. Ellie crawled out from under the altar, grabbed Mira's arm, and hauled with every ounce of strength she had left. "Window! Back wall!" Mira seized her stolen belt and dagger as they staggered toward the boarded window. Mira kicked twice. Wood splintered. Ellie shoved her through first, then followed, tearing her cloak on a nail. Outside, cold rain, mud, blessed darkness. Behind them, the grain store filled with yellow-orange light and shouting. Smoke poured from cracks. They ran, blind at first, then veering into alleys, sticking to shadows. Disorganized men in singed robes argued behind them. Then the streets sloped down toward the gorge and the old rope bridge. Hooves thundered, 3 hooded riders searching fiercely, one shouting with a demonic hiss, "Where is she?" The rain had turned paths to slurry. "Run," Ellie hissed. They sprinted onto the first planks. The bridge groaned like a dying animal. Ropes creaked. Wind tore at their clothes. Behind them, hoofbeats. "Don't look back," Mira panted. Ellie looked anyway. 5 riders nearly at the gorge's edge. Midway across, the wind howled, whipping the bridge into violent spasms. Ellie clutched the guide rope. Sodden fibers tore into her skin. Below, the river roared. Then the black magic came. A low chant slithered through the rain. Shadows lengthened into tendrils. The first curse struck, a writhing lance of void that slammed into the plank at Mira's feet. Wood crumbled to ash. Another bolt hissed past Ellie's ear, leaving whispering echoes of lost souls. The hunters emerged, eyes glowing with infernal light. Mira's voice cut through. "Cross! Now!" The bridge bucked. A plank cracked under Mira's foot. She lurched. Ellie caught her. Another curse bolt slammed into a post. The wood withered. The bridge tilted. The lead hunter summoned a coiling mass of shadow. A necrotic cloud surged toward Mira's heart. Ellie wrenched Mira aside and took the hit. The curse struck her shoulder with cataclysmic force. Agony erupted as living rot burrowed in. Her flesh blackened, veins pulsing with shadow. She collapsed against the ropes, gasping. Mira's cry rent the storm. "No!" Mira seized Ellie around the waist as the bridge convulsed. The final curse struck just as the support rope frayed. Planks disintegrated, the structure unraveled. The hunters' chants faded into the river's triumphant roar. Carried by the current, Mira battled to the other side, Ellie barely conscious. After tumbling downstream, Mira caught a branch and dragged them to a riverbank alcove. Ellie lay sprawled, breath shallow, the curse spreading like ink. Her left arm hung limp, skin cracking with necrotic veins. Mira knelt, hands trembling, pressing cloth against the wound. "Hold on, please, you can't leave me like this." Ellie reached up weakly. "Had to protect you." Mira pressed her forehead to Ellie's, rain and grief mingling. "You're the light I didn't deserve. If you fade now, I'll be lost in the dark forever." Their bond solidified in that moment, two souls forged in loss, clinging against the encroaching night. Mira rose, resolve hardening. She lifted Ellie, and they staggered into the shadows beyond the gorge. Behind them, the bridge remnants dangled like skeletal fingers. Ellie leaned heavily on Mira, but Mira's arm stayed firm. Ahead lay only darkness, and the place even witch hunters dared not go. But they walked forward together, two strays against the night, bound by something stronger than fear. Mira and Ellie drove on, the feeling of being followed biting at their heels like icy teeth. These were no mere trackers. The acolytes of the dark moved like living nightmares, cloaked in shrouds that drank the light itself, their faces hidden beneath deep hoods where faint emerald lights flickered like corpse candles in empty sockets. Their guttural chants twisted the air, each syllable carrying the wet echo of graves and the promise of endless suffering. When they spoke the forbidden tongue, the forest recoiled, branches creaked in pain, and the ground released the stench of turned earth and old blood. The rain had turned the ground to slurry, but the acolytes were relentless. Ellie could hear their chants growing closer, the wet slap of boots and the clatter of bone talismans. Every shadow stretched with skeletal fingers. Every gust of wind carried distorted whispers that sounded like her father's voice, pleading, then laughing in a way that turned her blood to ice. Mira's grip on her waist tightened. "We're almost there, just a little farther." But the curse was spreading. Ellie's shoulder burned as if branded from the inside with white-hot iron. Black veins crawled across her skin like living ink, each pulse sending fresh waves of agony that made her vision flash white. She stumbled, nearly pulling Mira down into the sucking mud. "I can't keep going like this," Ellie gasped, teeth chattering from pain and exhaustion. Mira's eyes flashed with fierce determination, though terror lurked behind them. "You don't have to. I've got you. Just hold on to me." They pushed deeper into the wild forest, branches clawing at their cloaks like desperate hands. The necromancer's chants circled them now, hurting. One voice rose above the rest, deeper, colder, layered with the dry rasp of centuries-old bone. It spoke promises of flesh peeling from living bodies, of souls trapped screaming inside decaying forms, of eternal service to the door beneath Lyrandor. Ellie's mind began to fracture. Flashes of violet light danced at the edges of her sight. The curse in her shoulder throbbed in perfect rhythm with the chants, as though the necromancers were already inside her blood. They reached a small clearing where the trees thinned. For one terrible moment, the rain eased, and moonlight pierced the canopy. In that sliver of silver light, Ellie saw them clearly. 3 hooded figures emerging from the tree line, robes writhing like living shadow. Beneath the hoods, pale faces stretched into unnatural grins that split too wide, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth glistening with black ichor. Their eyes were burning emerald pits that swallowed hope itself. One lifted a skeletal hand. the chant peaked. The ancient door wasn't just listening anymore. It was calling them home. And it sounded hungry. Something vast and patient stirred in the depths beneath the ruined city of Lyrandor. Far away, yet impossibly near, the black stone door trembled as the melody Ellie carried in her blood answered its summons. The silence between notes had begun to crack. The bog waited ahead, a place even witch hunters feared to tread, where shadows had voices and memories wore teeth. Ellie and Mira stumbled forward, unaware that the true nightmare was only beginning.